Hey everyone, and welcome back to BMX News. This is a weekly BMX news show where I talk about everything that happened in the previous week within the world of BMX that I think you guys might care about. That being said, we've got a few things to talk about. The first being this facial hair I've got going on here. I've got poison ivy right around here, and I'm afraid that if I shave it off, it's going to spread it to the rest of my face. And if that happens, there might not be a news video next week because of my swollen face. Either way, let's get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about here is the Impramatur BMX podcast. If you guys don't listen to this one, you need to, because Mike Hinkins is doing a fantastic job talking about the politics and other things that people just don't really talk about and that are important to talk about and for people to hear. The first thing that I want to highlight from this is the Trey Jones podcast that he did. He got Trey in there, and Trey talked about a lot of different things that BMX pros don't usually talk about, one of those being BMX media. And in that, he gave a lot of opinions and said a lot of different things. And with that, a conversation was started where Ryan Fudger then got on the Impramatur BMX podcast and talked about the Our BMX side of things and what it takes to run a successful BMX media website and just all of these different aspects that Trey touched on that might not necessarily have been completely true, but Trey was being passionate and he just cares about BMX. And with that, sometimes opinions get in the way of facts. Either way, though, both of these are a fantastic listen, which you have to listen to. Don't just listen to the Trey one. Don't just listen to the Ryan Fudger one. Listen to both of them and let me know what you guys think if you already have, or come back and let me know what you think after you do. And with this, I did a little bit of a podcast live stream like I do on this channel with BMX Union's Kurt Hoberger, and we talked about kind of the history of BMX media, the history of sponsorship within BMX media, kind of the lay of the land through all of the different years throughout the history of BMX media. And then we talked about his objectives with BMX Union and his perspective on BMX media in general. We talked about how he handles sponsor content versus non-sponsor content, and just kind of how and why he does what he does with BMX Union, as well as some possible solutions to the problems that BMX media is facing and could face in the future, all of which I feel was a fantastic conversation, which doesn't really argue or go against anything that was talked about in the Trey or Ryan podcast, but rather it just adds another voice to the conversation to bring people more awareness and just bring this conversation to light so that people can talk about it and things can just move forward. Because before this wasn't really something that was talked about in the mainstream with people who are actually involved. And moving on, there's one other highlight thing that I want to talk about this week, and it's mostly because it only has 1,400 views right now, and I don't know how that's possible. This is Corey Martinez's new video called Gimme a Break, where he's doing a bunch of brake tricks. I guess that kind of explains how it's possible. It's brake tricks and not him out riding street. Guaranteed, you could put out a Corey Martinez flat rail video and it would get 20 times as many views as this just because it was a flat rail. Either way, not going to complain here because this is a video with Corey Martinez with brakes and it's super, super awesome. So many good clips in here. He does regular hurricane to opposite hurricane. He does a giant back rail or back wall, whatever you want to call it, X-up Fufanu, which makes me want to work on my X-up Fufanus to get them clicked as far as he did, because I didn't know it was possible to go that far. He also does some other cool stuff like a up rail to Abubica, to fakie lucky down a ledge, and a whole bunch more stuff that you're going to have to watch the video to see. I definitely recommend it, and they're also giving this bike away. I wish that he would just keep his brakes on. Maybe we can convince him if we tell him enough in the comments below or in the comments on this video, because honestly, I can't believe it's got this few views. So go watch it, give us some more views, give us some love, and let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, to get to that video, you can find it in the description below. Also links to everything else that I'm going to talk about today in the order that I talk about it. That being said, that brings us into some contests and jam news. The first thing is Mad Mike's Crazy DIY Ramp Tour. If you didn't know, last Sunday, Mad Mike hosted a jam at his local spot where he builds and rides. And with this, they did a little tour of everything that was going to be at the jam and is at the spot over on Our BMX. And before I talk about the next video, I want to say that I'm really sad right now. Literally in this video, Mad Mike goes, anyone got an adjustable, you know, like this one that I could have had with me at the event that this video happened at? but I didn't go. And the video I'm talking about here is, of course, the full video from the jam that I was just talking about that Mad Mike hosted this past Sunday. This one's over on the Dig BMX YouTube channel, and it's a raw cut, so it's got some talking, it's got some riding, it's got all kinds of stuff, and it also has some sponsorship news that I forgot to talk about, in that Mad Mike was added to the Pro GT team at this event, and it was super awesome to see captured on video. And then we had a highlights video from the 2019 BMX National Championship that happened over at Corby Skate Park in the UK, and that brings us into the videos from this week. And the first video I want to talk about is one that if you haven't seen it, you definitely gotta watch it. It's called Warsaw Rising, and it's from Shadow and Subrosa. And this video features Mark Burnett, Simone Baracco, Joris Colomb, and Jiri Blabel. Sorry if I butchered it. He is the version of Matt Ray from wherever he's from. There is a lot of amazing stuff that he did in this video. And honestly, this video is a perfect example and representation of what it seems like people want to watch right now in BMX videos. It's kind of like the old Mutiny Trip web videos that they used to do like 10 years ago, in that it's a summarization of a trip with a few different riders with a little bit more of the personality vlog type aspect in this one. It's also kind of similar to what Colt has been doing and Vish has been putting together lately, and it's just very clear that these are the types of videos that people want to watch just based on the view counts alone. And like I said, this one has a ton of amazing riding in it, and if you haven't watched it yet, you definitely got to check it out. There's some stuff in here that's completely unbelievable, and some stuff that you just never ever would have even thought of to think that it might be unbelievable or believable or whatever. And then the next video I wanted to talk about, I was just watching it and I was kind of like, what the... And then I thought, you know what? It's a good thing that this exists, and it's a good thing that it's got some views on it, because it's just a variety of BMX content. And just because people liked the Warsaw Rising video that I just talked about doesn't mean that they won't like the next video I want to talk about, and that's Colt Fake's Too Fast for Food section from Bone Death. And so if you can look past some of the gross b-roll of food in here and just look at it for the riding and the video itself, Colt Fake is just bringing the most insane stuff to the table, as he always does, and this one is no exception. So if you're a fan of Colt Fake, you're definitely going to want to check this one out. And the next video I want to talk about is one that I said last week was coming out on the Our BMX YouTube channel, and that is my California edit. So if you guys want to see that one and you haven't yet, there is a link to it in the description down below. And then the last video I want to talk about this week is Bungay's, I don't know how to say that, Bungay's South Coast BMX section. Hopefully that's right. Either way though, when I was watching this one, I felt like I was watching something again, and I felt like I had seen it before. So if this is a re-upload of a section that we've already seen, let me know in the comments down below. Doesn't change a thing about how ridiculous this video is. If you don't know this guy, he is the guy who does the 180s down big stair sets with one hand on the grip and one hand on the back of his seat. No idea how he does it. It's insane. He does several of them in this section, and if you want to see it, you know where to find it. And that brings us into the product stuff from this week. The first thing I want to talk about here is a video with Dave Krone promoting his new NBD signature frame from S&M. This is a new frame that he is split signature framing with Kareem Williams. I hope that makes sense. As I've said in previous news videos, Dave is at one with his bike. It's very obvious, and it seems like he can do anything that he wants to on his bike. And there were several clips in here that literally left me saying like, what? He actually like did that, it worked. The first was just like a front rear bonk off of the bottom stair, or it was just a rear tire bonk off of a bottom stair to truck driver up a stair set. Don't have any idea how he made that work. And then the very next clip, one was a double peg on a sub that he did a 270 turn down out of, and the turn down was clicked. And it was an unconventional sub setup too, that he had to hop up something just to get to the sub and then hop down it as well. So that adds to the difficulty factor before and after doing that insane trick off of it. And as always, it's just great to watch someone who looks at things differently and approaches BMX riding completely different than just about anybody else. And then after that, we've got another promo video. This one's a little bit quicker and features Aaron Ross with his new 2020 Sunday Forecaster Complete bike. It's got a little bit of candy store, a little bit of ice cream, and a whole lot of Aaron Ross with his signature colorful bikes that he has always done from day one. After that, we're keeping things full factory with a promo for Odyssey's not new, because they did this color like 10 years ago, maybe even more, fluorescent yellow Hazard Lite rims. This is a blast from the past, but it's happening now, and I think it's pretty cool to see them keep doing all these colors that they did 10 to 12, maybe even 15 years ago, currently, and it makes me wonder which one's next. I'm taking bets right now. How many of you guys think that they will not do the guacamole green color that they did in the past? After that, we had the news that Volume is dropping a reissue of their dinosaur frame for their 20th anniversary of being a company. This is a throwback to Brian Castillo's signature frame from way back in the day, only with updated materials and geometry. And if you want to know the materials and the geometry and all the other specs and information about this frame, check out the link in the description below to a write-up over on bmxunion.com. And after that, we've got a video on our BMX's YouTube channel going through the entire Source BMX shop. This video is called Inside the World's Biggest BMX Shop, and that definitely does not seem wrong when they go through this thing. One thing that I thought was really cool is how they have their pedals set up on a lower shelf so that you can actually put your feet on them and try them out before you buy them. They talk about a little bit of history stuff, and overall it's pretty cool to just see an insight into this shop that I'll probably never get to go to because it's way over in Hastings, UK. And that brings us into the interview stuff from this week. The first thing I want to talk about here is another Palaver podcast with Chris Doyle featuring Morgan Wade. I'm about halfway through this one, and once again, it's a fantastic listen for anyone, not just fans of Morgan Wade. And it's pretty cool to hear them talking about what led up to Morgan doing those insane tricks that he did at Battle of Hastings that won the best trick contest for him. And if you haven't seen that, you definitely need to see it because Morgan Wade goes full send, like classic Morgan Wade. And if you listen to this podcast, you'll see what I mean when I say that. After that is a Space Brothers podcast with someone that I think absolutely deserves way more recognition in mainstream BMX than he gets. Everyone who's been around BMX knows that this dude is a legend, but he's like the legend that everybody seems to forget about because he's just steady out there doing his thing, going hard. And that is Rob Nolly. If that name rings a bell for you, it's probably because the dude is still absolutely sending it at the highest level, even though he's pushing 50. This podcast, once again from the Space Brothers, is a fantastic one to listen to. And if you don't know a lot about Rob Nolly or you've never heard of him, look up some of his riding, look up some of his old videos where he does 50 different BMX tricks, and just take a look at this dude's riding and know that he has been riding at that level for just about ever before you listen to the podcast. And that being said, that's the last thing I have to talk about this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you had input on any of the BMX media conversation, leave it in the comments down below, or anything else that you want to talk about from this week. That being said, if you're new here and you enjoyed, hit the subscribe button down below. So hopefully we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.